to take attendance?
I already did.
What? Okay. Okay, let's get started. The first thing we're going to start with is position paper presentation. So some of you have circumstances, and then we went through that. So some of you may not be presenting today, but then for the rest of you, we're going to start in the order that I'm going to put up in the text. So it's individualized. Okay, so what that means is that it's individual. So Stephanie's team will go first, then Claire's team will go, and Yebin's team, if Claire and Yebin are in the same group, then you guys just go as the second. And Marizan's group will go, and then Milan's group, like that. Okay? So first we have, first we have Stephanie's group. I'll stop sharing. Oh, wait. I need to give an outline. Today we're going to have opening paper assignment, opening speech activity, and MUN speech method. And we're going to get started with our opening speech assignment. Then we're going to have around 15-minute break while the proctors and I just discuss about the points and how much we graded you. So we three will individually grade you, and then we'll get back together and then try to see if there are any like differences, or maybe I gave you guys like 5 points for this, but someone else gave you guys 4 points for this. So we try to make an agreement. And then after 15-minute break, we're gonna go straight into opening speech assignment. And after that, lecture, and then finish. Okay. So I'll stop sharing. And I believe Stephanie's group is Tiana and Stephanie. So it'll be your guys' turn. Either share your document or share any presentations you guys prepared, and then just talk to us about like the presentation order. And then we'll pull up the proctors. Please pull up your rubric that I shared with you guys, and then work on it in a Google Doc. And please put comments as much as possible. Okay.
Do I share right now?
Yes. Either you or Stephanie share, and then.
Okay. Okay. Do we start?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Stephanie, you can go.
Hello, my name is Stephanie.
And my name is Tiana, and we'll be presenting our position papers from best to worst. Oh, we will. Okay. Yeah.
Document 3 is the first place because format and language. 1.1 received 2 because the paper did not include school. And 1.2 received 2 because they had some grammar mistakes. 1.3 received 3 because the tone sounded professional and diplomatic. The total was 7. Topic background. 2.1 received 2 because when and where was not included. 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4 received 3 because relevant statistics and facts were included, root causes to the topic were explained, and sub-issues to the main point were addressed. The total was 11 and passed international action. 3.1 received 3 because it had UN resolutions, treaty, or conventions. 3.2 received 3 because the UN programs and funds were mentioned. 3.3 were scored 2 because reports were only for possible improvements. And 3.4 received 2 because NGOs were explained, but they were not specifically mentioned. So the total was 10.
For country policy, it received a total of 12 because it had a lot of information of impact of it and explains how. And it also had great examples of events with details and took action internationally. So for 4.1, it received full credit, so as 4.2, because it explained the impact country very well and the country policy clearly. And for 4.3 and 4.4, 4.3 received a 1 because it include supporting resources not really well. And 4.4 explains action country and it's taken internationally. And possible solutions, it received a total of 9. It addresses the sub issues and very forward and shows strength, weaknesses, and with examples and it had great consistent solutions by giving the country's perspective. It received a full credit for 5.1 to 5.3 because it explained the sub-issues very well and strengths and weaknesses with examples, like I said. And lastly, it frames a major thematic or political region group test, which also received a 3. Oh, actually for 5.4. Oh, for solutions. For document 1, it received second place because the format and language, they forgot to put the name and some misspelled words, and the tone sounds professional overall. So 1.1, it received 2 because it didn't have name and misspelled words, and 1.2, it received a 2 because grammar was not really used correctly, and 1.3 also received 2, even though received 2 because the tone sounded a little bit professional but not fully, and topic background received a 9. It didn't answer specifically about the date, but facts were included but no statistics, explained the root cause as well and sub issues. So 2.1 received a 2 and 2.2 received a 2 also, and 2.3 and 2.4 received both 3. Country policy, it had good amount of information and the impact effects to the countries, and the country policy events and shows actions were taken domestically. 4.1, it explains the topic and the impact of country, also, it received a 3. And then it explains the country policy very clearly, so it also received a 3. And 4.3 includes the supporting resources also very well and explains actions taken domestically and possible solutions. It received a 6 and tells about the sub-issues and isn't specific about the weakness, but tells us more of the strength and have consistent policy well written. And possible solutions from 2.1 to 5.1 to 5.4. It didn't really address sub-issues well, but gave almost a good amount of it. And for 2.2, explains the strengths, but tells us isn't really specific about the weakness, so it received a 2. And solutions were not really consistent, but okay. And the total was 41.
Document 2 is the third because format and language 1.1 received 3 because paper contained the header. 1.2 is 2 because the grammar in the first paragraph was a little hard to understand, and 1.3 received 3 because the tone sounded professional and diplomatic. So the total was 8. Topic background 2.1 received 2 because the topic was not explained clearly and what and when was missing. 2.2 received 3 because relevant statistics and facts were included, and 2.3 received 2 because the causes were not clear. 2.4 received 3 because sub-issues were mentioned. The total was 10. Past international action. 3.1 received 3 because the UN resolution, treaty, or convention was mentioned. 3.2 received 2 because UN programs were not clearly mentioned. 3.3 received 2 because the reports were only on importance, not status. And 3.4 received 1 because there were no NGOs mentioned. The total was 8. Country policy. 4.1 received 3 because it explains how the topic was impacted or the country, how it was relevant. 4.2 received 1 because there were no policies, only the relevance. 4.3 and 4.4 received 1 because there were no policies. So the total was 6. Possible solutions. 5.1 received 3 because there were different sub-issues to the topic, but 5.2 received 2 because there was only weakness, like there wasn't any weakness, and 5.4 received 1 because since there was no country policy, I couldn't relate it. So the total was 38. Yeah, 38. Thank you.
Thank you. Um,
Oh, I'm muted. Okay. James, can you hear me? Okay. Were you able to grade their presentation? You're muted.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
you have time? Okay. Alan, are you done grading?
Yes, I am.
Okay, then let's move on to our second one. Good job, Stephanie and Tiana. Okay. Did we? Where's Stephanie? Oh, she's there. Okay. The second group is Claire's group, right? So Lindsay and Claire.
Can you wait a second for me to share the screen?
Okay.
Thank you.
Tiana and Stephanie, or either one of you guys, can you share the presentation so that the proctors can look at it?
okay.
Okay.
Are you guys be able to see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay. So for the first position paper, the format and language, we give the number 1 2 points because they only have the name. It's not supposed to be in the header. And for the second one, we give them 2 points too because there's still some grammar wrong and pronunciation wrong. And for 3, we give them a perfect scores because they sound professional after all. And for topic and background, we give the first one 2 points. It's because they didn't address the topic like who and when and where pretty clear, so we only give them 2 points. And for the second one, we give them 1 point is because we don't really think that they have included any strong facts and statistics. And for the third one, we give them a perfect point because they have explained why pretty clearly. And for the fourth one, we give them 1 point because they didn't address any subs issues. And for past international actions, we give them the first one and second one all perfect points. And for the third one, we just don't think that they have, addressed any or mentioned any UN reports that happened in the past. And for the fourth, we give them 1 point because they didn't really mention clearly that there's any there's any organization's past actions have mentioned. And for the fourth one, country policies, we give them the first one a perfect score. And for the second one, give them 2 points because we think that they didn't provide any informations, not really specifically. And for the third one, we give them 1 point. We give them 1 point. It's because they didn't explain or provide any supporting UN resolutions. And for the first one, we give them 2 points. They didn't explain really specifically that they have taken any international or domestically any actions. And for possible solutions, we give them 5.1 points. It's because they didn't address any sub-issues. And for the second one, we give them 2 points. It's because they only provide the strength part of the solution, not the weakness part. So only 2 points. And for the fourth one, we give them a perfect score. It's because they did provide facts and statistics and have developed an appropriate limits. So the total proposition score is 37 out of 54. Yes, that's for the first one.
For the second paper, for the format and language, 1.1, I gave it a 3. For 1.2, I gave it a 2 for 2. For 1.3, I gave it a 3, and for topic background, for 2.1, I gave it a 2 because there was who, what, where, but I couldn't find the when. For 2.2, I put a 3. For 2.3, I put a 2, and for 2.4, I put a 3. For past international action, 3.1, I did a 3 because it showed the buildup of the resolution. For 3.2, I put a 3, and for 3.3, I put a 2 because I could. 3.3, I put a 2, and 3.4, I put a 1, a 2, because it was all mentioned, but it wasn't really completed. 4.1, I put a 3, and 4.2, I put a 3, and 4.3, I put a 2, and 4.4, I put a 2, because it wasn't completed evidence, but it was mentioned. 5.1, I put a 2. 5.2, I put a 2 because I couldn't find any weaknesses. However, there was mention of the strengths. And 5.4, I put a 3. For 1.1, I put a 2 because it missed the school.
Too, because I think they need more explanation on their country policies. And for 4.3, I put 3. And for 4.4, I put 2. Is because I think they have good plans for the international action, but they're kind of lack of explaining on their domestic actions. And for 5.1, I put a 3. And for 5.2, I put 2. I think they're nearly perfect, but they didn't have any really explain the weakness of the resolutions. And for 5.4, I put 2 because I think the country policy is not clearly stated overall.
Claire and Lindsay, did you guys state the final points for your document 3 or your position paper number 3?
Position paper number 3 was a total of 43, and 1.3 is supposed to be 3.
So if I'm correct, document 1 is 37, document 2 is 45, and document 3 is 43.
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys done? Okay, good job. Let's go on to our second group. Yabin, we have a different situation, and Mirzan too. So Milan's group. Sam and Milan, was it? Okay.
Do you want me to share screen?
Yeah, you share screen.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on my computer right now.
Okay. Don't look at that. Sorry. Okay. So these are position paper rankings. So for 1.1, I gave it its name, but there shouldn't be a name. And for 1.2, they spelled programs 2 different ways. So I gave it a 2 as well. And for 1.3. Sam.
Oh, wow, I'm going, okay. Yeah, the tone was overall diplomatic throughout the paper, so it's 3 out of 3. And then 1.4 isn't necessary, right? Because it's like we're excited. Okay, topic background. So the topic is clearly defined in, oh, I'm not gonna read it, 2.1. Okay, 3 out of 3. I give 3 out of 3 because it tells us small arms, so what, and then when is today, and then around the world is where. I don't know. So 3 out of 3. There are no facts or statistics, so I give it a 1 out of 3. And then for 2.3, I gave it a 1 because it doesn't give any root causes to the topic either. And then I gave it a 3 out of 3 because it says that it leads to violence, so that's a sub issue. So that's topic background. Total score is 8 out of 12. Past international action. So I gave it a 3.1 is a 3 out of 3 because it mentions multiple resolutions on the topic. 3.2 is also a 3 out of 3 because it also mentions UN programs of fund like the United Nations Program of Action. And then 3.3 is a 1 out of 1. 1 out of 3 because it doesn't mention any official reports for progress on actions. And then the same thing is 3.4. It doesn't mention any NGOs if there are or are any.
Okay, I feel like such a harsh grader compared to everyone else, but for 4.1, I gave it a 3 because it's highlighted in red here. So you can see how it's impacted the country. For 4.2, it's highlighted in yellow, so I gave it a 2 because it did explain the country policy, but it didn't really elaborate on it, so I scored it a 2. And then for 3.3, for 4.3 and 4.4, I gave them 1 because there was nothing there. Okay. And then for possible solutions, no offense, but this was so short. But so I gave it 1 for everything but 5.4. 5.4 got a 2. It's highlighted here. It is, I gave it a 2 because it is consistent with the country policy, but they, again, didn't really elaborate on their solutions. So I gave it a 2. And this is paper 2. For format and language, For 1.1, I gave it a 3 because they have everything for the header. And 1.2, I gave it a 2 because extra budgetary is not a word. But overall, their grammar and punctuation was correct.
Right, and for 1.3, it's a 3 out of 3 because it's professional and diplomatic throughout the paper. Right. Topic background. So I gave it a 3 out of 3 for 2.1 because it says who would affect. It says what? It said describe small arms and light weapons. It says when. It says it's now, and then where is not limited to any country. And so for 2.2. It lists multiple relevant facts and statistics, root causes. It explains multiple root causes through the paper. And for 2.4, it also addresses some sub-issues like increasing assaults on girls and women and violence in communities. All right, so for past international action, I gave it a 3 out of 3 for 3.1 because it lists multiple resolutions for the paper. 3.2 is also a 3 out of 3 because it mentions some programs and funds for their implementation efforts like UNICEF and UNDP. And then for 3.3, I gave it a 2 out of 3 because it mentions progress on actions, but it doesn't give it like an official report or mention. And then for 3.4, it does not mention any NGOs or if they, but yeah, it doesn't mention NGOs if they were there or not. So it's a 1 out of 3.
Okay, so for country policy, it got a total score of 7 out of 12. So on 4.1, I gave it a 3 because it did explain how it affects the country. And 4.2, I gave it a 2 because, again, it does explain the country policy clearly, but it doesn't elaborate on it. And for 4.3 and 4.4, I gave it a 1 because there was nothing there as well. For possible solutions, it got a total score of 7 out of 12. For 5.1 and 5.2, I gave it a 1 because they didn't address sub issues and they didn't explain like the strengths and weaknesses of their solution. For 5.3, I gave it a 2 because it's highlighted in green. So I gave it a 2 because it did kind of mention some regional tensions, but again, it didn't elaborate on it. And so for 5.4, I gave it a 3 because it was consistent with the country policy, which was to legalize. Yeah, never mind. It was consistent with the country policy. And for the third paper, we gave it a 39 out of 57. So for the heading, I gave it a 2 because they mentioned school, but they didn't say what school they were from. And for punctuation and grammar, it got a 3 because there's nothing that I could find that was wrong.
All right, for 1.3, it's really professional, so 3 out of 3. Top of that. So for 2.1, I gave it a 3 out of 3 because it describes who it affects, what gender equality is that takes place currently, and that it happens around the world. And then for 2.2, it lists like 3 facts and statistics, so I gave it a 3 out of 3. And then it lists a bunch of, it lists multiple root causes to the topic. And then for 2.4, I also gave it a 3 out of 3 because it lists multiple sub-issues as well. For past international action, it explains some UN resolutions and conventions on the topic that were important. So I gave it 3 out of 3. For 3.2, it lists multiple UN programs so for their implementation efforts. So I gave it a 3 out of 3. It doesn't mention any official reports or UN reports for progress, so I gave it a 1 out of 3. And then it does mention NGOs, but it doesn't mention which of the things were NGOs, so I gave it a 2 out of 3.
Okay, so for country policy, 4.1 got a 1 because they didn't explain how it impacted their country. Like they did say that they support women's rights, but they didn't say how it impacted Russia. So for 4.2, I gave it a 2 because it's highlighted here in yellow. It did explain the country policy, but again, I don't think it was elaborate enough. And for 4.3, I gave it a 1. Although it does mention a speech by from their president, they didn't explain like how the speech is relevant or like how that affected them, and they didn't really explain it. And for 4.4, I also gave it a 1 because they didn't explain how it affected them internationally or domestically. So for possible solutions for 5.1, I gave it a 2 because they kind of did address a different sub-issue right here in red, but again, they didn't elaborate it. And for everything else, I gave it a 1. What really bothered me here was the solution was so inconsistent with the country policy. Like, sorry, if you go back here, it said Russia would like cooperation between UN women and international, based on each nation's traditional values and norms, right? But then in their solution, they're saying that they should have, like, there should just be one solution that every country would follow, right? So we should ensure safe transport. We should ensure sanitation facilities at schools. But again, that doesn't pertain to each country's values and norms. So if I could, I would have given that a 0. So here are the results. And we said that position paper 2 won. Okay, thank you guys.
Okay, that was really good, Milan and Sam. And wait, let me just finish. Okay. And then we'll give you guys individual comments later on with your partners in a separate waiting room. Then first, let's go on to our second team. We have Sayur is not going to be here. Lindsay, we did. Jaden, Sam, we did. Tina and Holly. Are you guys ready?
My partner is Toa, but Toa is not here today.
All right, you told me that. All right. So
Yes.
Toa's not here, and Tina, and Holly. Holly, is your team ready?
Oh, yeah, I think. Sayang, are you ready? Okay. Are you gonna share the screen? Okay, I can just do it.
Team of today.
Actually, no, Sayang, can you do it? Can you do number 2?
Okay, you guys are gonna do fine.
Okay. Can you make it bigger, Sayang? Or like, if you can. Okay, so like how we annotated it is a little different from everyone else. So yeah. Wait, hold on. So can you make it a little bigger? Okay. Okay, go up. Okay. So first, sorry. Okay, so for I'll be talking about position paper number 2, and we graded it the most. So let me explain first. So first for 1.1, we gave them a 3 because they did have the 4. They had a completed header and they had 4 sections. For 1.2 and 1.3, we both gave them a 3 because I really like their grammar. Personally for me, I really like the grammar for this position paper because it really did sound professional and diplomatic. They didn't go overboard with like big words, but they did explain it well. And then for 2.1, which is highlighted in blue in the first paragraph, they did define the topic and they explain who, what, where, and when. And that's why we gave them a 3. For 2.2 is in purple. We gave them a 3 also because they did include the facts and statistics compared to the other 2 position papers. Like they did say 60 to 90% of the 100,000 plus conflict deaths. And then for 2.3, highlighted in green, we gave them a 3 also because it did explain the root causes to the topic instead of saying like the effect, because in the other position papers we saw a lot of like the effects being said. And then for 2.4, which is in pink, sorry, it's confusing. We gave them a 3 also because they did mention other sub-issues besides the illicit production and distribution of small arms. They also mentioned terrorist incidents and gang violence and increasing assault on girls and women. So basically they got like full points for 2. Now for 3.1, we gave them a 3, which is highlighted in yellow because they mentioned resolutions and they did explain it. We weren't sure how specific it was, but they did explain it, so we gave them full points. For 3.2, which is highlighted in orange, we were debating if it was programs and funds, but I think it is, so we put it as a program, UN programs and funds. For 3.3, which is highlighted in pink, we gave them a 3 also because we believe that it was a report because it kind of like explained their progress, which is including ideas about like arms and prisons and crime in university models. For 3.4, however, we gave them a 1 because we didn't see any international actors or NGOs mentioned. Okay, so for 4.1, we gave them a 3, which is in dark green, because it really did say, it elaborated how Russia relates to the small arms because it's one of the most active countries in the market itself. And for 4.2, which is in light green, in the bottom of the paragraph, we gave them a 3 also because so it did explain the country policy, and the country policy kind of like shows like what side were they on, and they really wanted it to be a legal trade of firearms, which they specifically said, so we just gave them a 3. For 4.3 and 4.4, however, as you can see, is not highlighted, so we gave them a 1 because we didn't really see any supporting sources such as UN resolutions, and they didn't explain any action that the country already took. Like it was just saying what they wanted to do and like how were they related. Okay, and lastly, for the last paragraph, for 5.1, we gave them a 1 because you know how they mentioned sub-issues in the first paragraph, like women and terrorism? They didn't do the same thing in the last paragraph. They only went back to small arms. So we gave them a 1. 5.2, it highlighted in yellow. We gave them a 2 because it did highlight the strength of their solution, but it didn't highlight the weakness. And for 5.3, we don't grade that. 5.4, we gave them a 3, highlighted in pink, because it was consistent with their policy that they wanted legal trade of firearms, and they gave an execution of that plan by stricter regulations and monitoring. So basically, position paper 2's total score is 45. It was like the most points we gave.
So for 1.1, we gave them a 2 because they had everything except the school was empty. And for 1.2, we gave them a 2 because there were several mistakes, but it was good overall. And for 1.3, we gave them a 3 because we thought that it was pretty professional. For 2.1, we gave them a 2 because we couldn't find when, but they defined it and they also put the others like who, what, and where. And for 2.2, we gave them a 3 because they had like facts, the green one, they had facts and the statistics facts. And for 2.3, we gave them a 3 because they, the blue highlighted one is the cause, the root cause, and yeah, that's why we gave them a 3. And 2.4, we gave them a 3 too because because they had the sub issues listed, the pink highlighted ones. And for 3.1, we gave them a 3 because they had resolutions. The orange highlighted is the resolutions and treaties. And 3.2, we gave them a 1 because we couldn't find any. We couldn't find any. And also for 3.3, we gave them a 1 because we couldn't find that. And 3.4, we gave them a 3 because they had the NGOs and like the international groups. And 4.1, we gave them a 1 because we couldn't find anything. And 4.2, we gave them a 3 because they sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Because where was I? Yep, 4.2 is a 3 because yeah. And 4.3, we also gave them a 3, which is the green one, because they had speeches, which, so it says it was a speech, so yeah. And 4.4, we couldn't find it, so we gave them a 1. And 5.1, we gave them a 3 because they had the subtopics that was listed in the first paragraph. And 5.2, we gave them a 2 because there was the orange highlighted ones, there was strengths, but there was no weakness. And we gave 5.4 a 2 because the orange highlighted ones was sorry. It's the solutions, the orange ones are the solutions, so we gave them a 3.
Oh yeah, and their total score for the position paper thing is 41. Yeah, they're second. Okay, so for the last position paper 1, we scored them. Oh no, wait. The position paper 3 that Soyoung did was 42. Sorry, 42. Position paper 1 is 41. Okay, so Soyoung, you want to explain the first half? I'll do the second half.
Okay. So for the first one, 1.1, we gave them a 2 because they didn't have the name. They had everything else like before, including the header, but in the header, the name was missing. And for 1.2, we gave them a 3 because there was only one mistake that we found. And 1.3, we gave them a 3 because we thought that it was professional. And 2.1, we gave them a 3 because they defined the blue highlighted. They defined it and had who, what, when, where. And 2.2, we gave them a 1 because we couldn't find any facts. And 2.3, we also gave them a 1 because there wasn't a root cause. And 2.4, we gave them a 3 because they had sub issues, which is terrorism and violence. And 3.1, we gave them a 3 because they had resolutions and we thought that it was described well. And 3.2, we gave them a 3 because they had programs. And 3.3 and 3.4, we gave them both 1s because we couldn't find any.
Okay, so for 4.1, highlighted in red, and 4.2, we both gave them a 3. Okay, so first they did explain how the topic was relevant. They said that as a leading importer of firearms so they're saying Saudi Arabia was a leading importer of firearms, so they were great. It was like greatly like relevant, the topic. And then for 4.2, it did explain the country policy because it gave you an idea of what side were they on, and they didn't like how it was illegally being like distributed, the illicit weapons, because it led to criminal activities and terrorism. So we both gave them a 3 for that. For 4.3, we gave them a 2, which is highlighted in yellow. We weren't really sure how specific the supporting sources were, so we just gave them like a 2 because they did give a fact, which was like in 2017, the total number of guns was 5,468,000. For 4.4, highlighted it in purple, we gave them a 3 because it did say the action that Saudi Arabia already took, which was developing appropriate limits for arms and punishment for violating the regulations. So for 5.1, we gave them a 1. We couldn't really find any sub-issues that was talked about. And 5.2, which is like in the green, highlighted in greenish in the last paragraph, the person did say the strengths, but once again, he didn't say the weaknesses. And lastly, for 5.4, we gave them a 3 because he did say, you know how like they were against the illegal distribution, and then he had a solution that was against that also. So it was consistent with the country policy. So our score for them was 41. So position paper had the least amount of points.
Okay, and everyone who used our presentation or Google Doc, can you guys please share it with your proctors so when we put you into meeting rooms, we can still use that as a reference while we grade you guys. Okay, and just send that right away. And Alan, is it okay if we give them break right now and then talk amongst the proctors?
Say that again.
Is it okay if we put them into breakout rooms and then we talk about these scores? Okay, so guys, you guys can have 15-minute break, or around 15 minutes, 10, let's give them 15-minute break, eat, use the restroom or anything, and we'll meet back and start our opening speech. You guys can practice your opening speech during that time too, and then we'll get back to you guys. And when we get back, we'll tell you the right position paper order, so be excited for that. And you guys are free to go, and we'll put you guys in a separate room because we need to talk about the scores, so just don't mind if you guys don't see us, okay?
Eileen, how do you want us to share this? Like, what's everyone's email?
Okay. I'll actually put the emails.
We'll put the emails in the chat, guys.
Oh, hello, Mr. Witt.
Hello.
They did so great for their position paper annotations.
Nice, good.
Okay. That's mine. Oh wait, I sent it to someone else. I'm sorry. And after Alan puts up his email, just send it to the 3 of us, any Google Doc or presentation that you guys have, and we'll look over it, okay? Just for those of you, even though you guys didn't present today, for those of you who just sent me the annotations because of personal reasons, I saw your annotations and they were really good too. And for those of you who presented especially, thank you guys for being so brave, and you guys did awesome. Like, I am proud for each and every group of you, and it's summer break, and I know that it's hard putting in that much time into this assignment. And after this assignment and after the opening speech assignment, the only other assignment left is the position paper writing itself. And again, after you write the position paper, there's an award for that for those of you who write the who wrote the best position paper is going to get the best position paper award at the end of the summer program. But then after the position paper assignment, you guys are basically done with the assignment for the rest of the summer program, except just research and getting ready for your committee, okay? So you guys are done with the big hurdles, and let's just get through our opening speeches after this, and you guys can go to your 15-minute break, okay? Please be back.
Did this, but anyways, they were really amazing.
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear.
The funny thing is, I put in my position paper in one of the, so I put in an example position paper provided by the best delegate diplomat.
Yeah.
And I used one from mine last year, and then I used one from one of our group mates, from one of our teammates who didn't really take the position paper seriously, and that was his first draft. So I just put all three of it, and then of course I was expecting mine to be second, the first example to be first, and then the third person to be third.